Make or break, do or die, end of the line. Fantasy football week 15 starts and sits. The full preview here, the complete guide with latest news and notes, everything to get you guys prepared. You can also jump on the timestamps below to get to the specific position you guys want and the latest news, everything covered right here on this show. Welcome, Jimmy, aka Maverick, and welcome to you guys. Got an exciting one here for you. What's happening, Jim?
Hey, counselor, just in the holiday spirit, man. Just enjoying the holidays and trying to get all this last minute shopping done and work and everything else. So before I go on vacation. So
yeah, man, December 11th. And I hate to say this, but I feel like shutting it down a little bit now because we're so close. And, we're going to finish strong here. And then we're going to start rolling out the 2025 content. But this time of year, I'm just kind of unwinding, watching Turbo Man dolls, the Jingle All the Way, and all my Christmas movies. And it's great, man. I haven't gone out and I got 3 kids now, and I haven't gone out and got the new Turbo Man doll. If you guys watch,
there you go. There you go. Or you get him a Chucky doll.
I'm sure that's not sold out, but I know the Turbo Man is definitely sold out. It's sold out everywhere. It's only the hottest selling item of all time.
Right. That's right. Those old Black Friday pre-dawn feeding frenzies in the retail establishment. I do kind of miss that. They don't do it anymore. But there was several times, like I was big going to Best Buy on the Friday early morning. Like you get there at like 5 a.m. There's already a huge line of people trying to get that deal on that television or computer or whatever it was.
Video game. It was the video games that was the big thing. The midnight releases of the video games, standing outside a GameSpot or whatever it was. And yeah, you missed those days. Now that's kind of gone with, the digital downloads. And of course you've got Amazon for a lot of stuff. So that's, in a way, it's kind of good, but it was kind of a nice feeling. The only thing that sucked is like, you might not get it and you're waiting the whole time and they're sold out or whatever. And that uncertainty was very frustrating, right? But I'm grateful for these times now, but appreciate those times. It was good times.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so guys, if you're new to the channel, smash it, tap it, slap it. We're gonna start off with some latest news and notes here. We've got some very sad news here. I want to really address this. Where's Breaking Brad?
We now have breaking news.
Well, this was actually yesterday's news, but I really want to talk about this. Is Randy Moss, legendary NFL wide receiver, he's taken a step away from broadcasting, and everybody's kind of wondering what it was. And I think Larry Fitzgerald or someone broke the news that it's actually liver cancer. Now, very unfortunate, but I looked into this again, depending on how the severity is, there is treatments, but it can be life-threatening. So sad news, Jim. I don't know what to say about that. There's not much to say.
Yeah, you just wish the best to his family. You hope that he'll have a speedy recovery and that, soon he'll be back on television again. And it's just, it's just sad news, but I'm sure that Randy Moss is up for the challenge. If anybody having a health scare could come through it, I'd say somebody like Randy Moss has the best chance. So, just best wishes to him and his family and get better, get well soon.
Yeah, I had to talk about that. So very unfortunate. Hopefully he gets well. And such a terrible time, to have that news around Christmas. So hopefully things work out for him and his family and everyone else that's struggling with any type of, disease like that. So I also want to talk about this. You were mentioning this when we were talking off the air here. Not Isaac Guerendo. We got him. He had a foot injury. He's day to day, by the way. I do want to mention that Isaac Guerendo came in, and then he got hurt. He was doing well until he got hurt foot day to day. But we want to talk about Jonathan Brooks, another very unfortunate thing. I mean, so much talent. One of the top running back prospects coming in. He had his time to heal. He was held back this year, and then he re-tears his ACL. How unfortunate.
Yeah, like literally his second game back, tears his ACL again, and it's the same one too, which is really bad. So that is, it just really sucks for all the effort and training and everything he did over this past year to recover from that injury, and it like immediately happens again. That is just, geez, man. I mean, that just sucks. That just really sucks. And, it makes you wonder what's his viability. I mean, how excited would you be about taking Jonathan Brooks for next season?
I'm not.
When he's coming off of 2 consecutive ACL tears on the same knee. I'm like, I don't think I could take him. I mean, he looked good in his small amount of time that he showed, but geez, I mean, I don't know.
and look at the schedule now. Like it's November. He won't, even if he is ready, which he probably won't be. August or September, it's like he's still, how running backs need that extra year. So it's like 2 years removed is kind of where you want that running back. So it makes you wonder also, like, how many running backs that are not only in committees but get hurt, that their career gets hindered. There's so much talent, they just never see their true potential. Hopefully he does, but I would say he's about 2 years out from when we could see him at full potential. And then obviously the team that he's on has a lot of work to do as well and try to figure out their quarterback situation with the Panthers. So very unfortunate. We just have to mention that. Other than that, in the news, again, we talked about Isaac Guerrero. George Pickens' hamstring is considered doubtful for Week 15. Very unfortunate for George Pickens owners. Jim, that sucks. I mean, Pickens is supposed to be the one. It also sucks for the Steelers. It really does.
Hey, Steelers are doing fine. They're
It's
still winning. I mean, it's bad for George Pickens, and these things happen, right? I mean, it doesn't make me like George Pickens less for next season. This is just a unfortunate soft tissue injury, and it's going to be a lingering thing. And so, hopefully, he'll be back for the playoffs. That's what I'm hoping for right now. So.
Yeah, I want to talk about also, there's no bye weeks this week. I mean, all teams are.
Yeah, we're all done with bye weeks. No more.
Yeah, that's good. The one matchup I am actually looking forward to the most out of all these matchups, you probably know which one this is. 4:25 Eastern, Buffalo at the Lions. They are the 2.5-point favorite. Are the Lions at home? Buffalo coming off a loss against the Rams in a high-scoring game. That was an exciting.
That game was epic. I mean, it was just crazy how much scoring was happening in that game. And Buffalo has just not been able to close the deal, right? They have been so good for so long, perennial playoff team, have not been able to make it to the big dance. They have not been able to make it there. And in order to show that they can do it, they've got to win this game. I mean, really, they need to do it. They can't just go into the playoffs again and lose in the divisional or the wild card round. They can't let that happen. So they need to make a statement this week. And really, if they can shut down Detroit, that'd be great. And this is a potential Super Bowl preview right here is what we're getting. Super Bowl preview. So
this is really, but I just don't know if they're going to get by the Chiefs. But the Chiefs are just squeaking out wins. Like, they are probably the worst, best scoring, team of all time. Like, they're just squeaking them out, dude. Like, did you see that kick? Like, they just came back, wanted it just off the upright and in. Like, it was just, they're just getting by. It's crazy. But they're getting wins, and it doesn't matter how they won. There's still the scoreboard says win, and it counts, and they're getting through. So but you said Buffalo, they just need to start winning, and they've got to win consistently, and they got to be able to beat the Chiefs. They can't be.
They got to beat these big teams. They got to beat these playoff contender teams, and so that's what we need to see happen this week, Josh Allen. That's what you need to do, and you did enough last week. It was the defense that kind of let you down. So the whole team's got to come together and make this happen, and. We'll see if they can do it. Otherwise, they're just going to be another contender again, and it's just not. They'll get eliminated, and they won't make it to the Super Bowl. So,
and if you missed it, he's breaking records. Most quarterback fantasy points, I think, of all time, 51.88, and also
3 passing touchdowns and 3 rushing touchdowns in the same game as well.
First ever reality quarterback. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's unbelievable. And he's my quarterback. That's the guy I was telling you to anchor your team with. So I'm very, very proud of my Josh Allen. And also in the news here, Jim, I also want to talk about this. Desperate times call for desperate measures, but Las Vegas Raiders quarterback Desmond Ridder is expected to start in Week 15 for the Atlanta Falcons. Head coach Antonio Pierce said the team is still waiting on diagnosis of Aiden O'Connell knee, but he said he's expected to start Ridder. I mean, how bad? And I want to take full ownership. It's so crazy. Zamir White sucks so bad. It's like every week he's like doubtful, out, doubtful, out, doubtful. And then he went from like, questionable to doubtful to out. And then he went from doubtful to IR. I'm like, dude, I am so sorry about Zamir White. That is like my biggest bust pick in my entire career giving out fantasy football advice. I cannot believe how off and how sucky he is. He sucks so bad, Jim. You're right on this. I want to
and we're already talking about right now is Sincere McCormick the next Zamir White, because he's coming in late in the season. He did really well last week. He's going to be playing again this week. Is he going to be the one that we're going to be like, oh yeah, Sincere McCormick, he's going to be awesome next year? And I'm like, nope. He's coming in with fresh legs at the end of the season. these are not the guys you want for next year. So
But there's so much irony to this? It's like we live in the Matrix, okay? My biggest fail in fantasy football picks of all time is Zamir White, right? And ironically, I'm sincerely sorry about it. And by chance that his replacement is named Sincere is just mind blowing. I mean, you say we don't live in the Matrix. What are the odds of that, right? So I'm sincerely apologetic about this. Start Sincere if you're desperate for running backs. Sincerely, oh man, that's crazy. I had to just highlight that. That's just crazy. All right, so I think that's it for news. Am I missing anything else in the news? I mean,
I don't think so. I mean, I don't think so.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the bulk of it. So, all right, so let's get right into, I'm going to pull up the optimizer here. If you're new to the channel, smash it, tap it, slap it. Let's go through all the optimal starts, get you fully prepared for this week. Again, timestamps are below if you want to jump to a particular position. So let's get to it here. The optimal matchups here, feel free to dive in after I list these off, Jim. Again, all quarterbacks are playing, no bye weeks, full go. And I implore you, don't just start a player because he's got a good matchup. Start a player because he go back 3 weeks. Has he been consistent? Has he been putting up points? Just because, let's say, Lamar Jackson has a tougher matchup than, let's say, Aaron Rodgers. You're not going to start Aaron Rodgers because he's got the second easiest matchup versus Jacksonville over your Lamar Jackson. Just for context here. So don't say, well, Joe, you told me Aaron Rodgers, good matchup. Yes, good matchup on paper, but you start your starter. So that disclaimer is out, Jim. So Herbert, great matchup versus Tampa Bay. Aaron Rodgers versus Jacksonville. Now, again, Jacksonville last week. Who was the quarterback that played Jacksonville last week that sucked, had a great match? Well, I think it was Will Levis.
Was it Will Levis, I think, wasn't
Yeah.
it? It was Will Levis. There's a guy I'm not going to draft again.
Sucks. He had the great matchup last week, and he just crapped the bed, and they lost. I mean, they were favored 3.5 to win that game. And they just, oh, man, Will Levis. There goes your entire career. You can't beat Jacksonville. Oh, anyway, that's a whole other
Jacksonville without Trevor Lawrence, right? I mean, it was a depleted Jacksonville team. A lot of injuries on that team.
Oh,
but
man.
yeah, I mean, I've just never been impressed with Will Levis. I thought, with all the additions they made to the offense, I'm like, okay, so they're really going all in on Levis.
Yeah.
Can he make the step? Can he make the next step?
No.
And no, the answer is clearly no, he can't. And I don't think I'm going to be drafting any Tennessee Titans next year. I mean, I just don't see a reason to. It's going to be another moribund offense, and I don't really see a way that they can get to a better quarterback either. So,
right.
I don't know.
Yeah, so let's finish this off here. Aaron Rodgers, Aiden O'Connell, who's, again, banged up. We talked about that. Will Levis, Bryce Young, Cooper Rush, Drew Lock, Pat Mahomes, Brock Purdy, Kirk Cousins, and Winston. All great matchups. Now, I will tell you, I do not like Kirk Cousins. He is done. I will never, ever consider drafting him as a backup. He, last week, was coming off a 4-interception game. And then he has a decent matchup, and he craps the bed. More interceptions. Like Kirk
I mean, it wasn't a crap the bed situation, but it was a bad. I mean, he didn't have a good game, and he had the 2 interceptions, but he did have like over 300 yards passing. So, I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, clearly, I think if you've made it to the playoffs this week, you don't have Kirk Cousins on your team. It's that kind of thing. It's like you've already been eliminated. So it's almost kind of a moot point, but.
Now, let's look at the rough matchups here. Now, you're obviously not going to sit a lot of these guys, like Jalen Hurts, 24-point week coming off that, but he is playing Pittsburgh. It's going to be tougher. If you do have a better option, I mean, do it, but I doubt. I mean, if he was your starter, it's going to be hard, to sit him. Sam Darnold coming off a 38-point week. Man, oh man, has Minnesota impressed? Don't you agree? Minnesota, who would have thought?
Yeah, but Chicago has been brutal on Chicago. Okay, so the Steelers are number 1 against the quarterback. Bears are number 2. So we're talking that is a really, really bad matchup, and I don't think I would take the chances on him with that kind of a matchup.
Definitely
at least with Hurts, you've got the rushing upside, you got the potential goal line touchdown, that sort of stuff. So I'm fine with the running quarterbacks, but still they're the pocket passers, I don't think I'd take a chance.
Tough matchups. CJ Stroud, who's been a big disappointment this year, has got the 3rd hardest matchup. I mean, I don't know what happened.
I really blame his injury, the injuries they've suffered on the receiving core. He's
still got to step it up. I mean, you can't say that. I mean, Pat Mahomes, he doesn't make excuses. He still delivers on a high level. Mind you, he's not as good.
Yeah, he has not been delivering on a high level. He's been doing enough. And it's really the defense that's been saving that team. Let's be truthful. I mean, come on. I mean, Patrick Mahomes right now is averaging less than 2 touchdowns a game.
Yeah.
He is not the Patrick Mahomes that we have seen in prior years. He is efficient. He does not turn the ball over, but
Right.
he is not explosive, and he is not getting the big plays like he used to. Um, I don't think I'm going to be drafting Patrick Mahomes anymore, man. I don't think I can do it because uh, his,
No.
where he's going on the draft board is not worth it. He is not worth the pick for sure.
I agree, but I mean the record could be better, is what I'm saying for the Texans. To 8-5 in the AFC South. I mean, I don't know. They could be doing better, but he just hasn't performed where we thought. And you could make excuses that it was the receivers, but anyways, tougher matchup this week. Jared Goff, tougher matchup versus Buffalo. You could say that. I mean, fourth hardest, but he could be.
Buffalo. Yeah, I got Buffalo's ranked number 3 against the quarterback position. So it's going to be an interesting game to see. And the Bills defense really needs to step up here.
Yeah. Josh Allen against Detroit, same vice versa. I mean, you would not going to.
I wouldn't sit Josh Allen.
No, don't say that. Don't sit Josh Allen. Russell Wilson, just again, a couple names here, just based on paper, they have tougher matchups. Russell Wilson, Anthony Richardson, Caleb Williams, Geno Smith, and Jaden Daniels, all tougher matchups versus position, but all consistent quarterbacks over the past 2 or 3 weeks. I mean, you look at this guy, Richardson, 23 points, Williams, 15 points, not the greatest, but Jaden Daniels coming off a 29-point week last time he was out. And if we're not mentioning them, like guys like Tua, Burrow, Lamar, all mid-range matchups, okay? So we're focusing on the guys that have the worst and the best. And if we don't mention them, consider them a mid-range matchup. As you can see here, if they're yellow, mid-range matchup guys. Jordan Love, Tua, Joe Burrow, Bo Nix, Kyler Murray, all kind of mid-range based on difficulty. But again, you want to start people that have good matchups but also have been consistent. Anything else you want to say about quarterbacks, Jim? I think that kind of covers the whole quarterback position.
Yeah, I mean, I think you got it. I think that's it. So, yeah.
Okay, let's pull up the running backs here. We'll start with the guys that have optimal matchups here. Again, you got Rico Dowdle, who's stepped up here. Zeke Elliott has just done absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
I mean,
Rico is an interesting case. What do you think that Dallas is going to do next year? Are they going to keep him as their one?
No.
I mean, he's been pretty good. I mean, he's been decent.
This is something I really, really want to talk about. Let's address this real quickly here, okay? So you know how like the NFL is going more towards the running back by committee, and they're just destroying careers that could be really good. Example, I keep going back to this example, is Kyron Williams. Had Cam Akers not gone down last year, we would never seen the upside and the talent of a Kyron Williams, and he's got so much potential, but so much talent is being buried. Blake Corum could have been a starter on a team. Jonathan Brooks, had he not got hurt, could have been a starter. Also, Trey Benson's got that talent. He could have been a starter. He's buried behind James Conner, right? So even Jahmyr Gibbs, who is doing great, but could be doing so much better if there's no Montgomery. I want to tell you, there's Ashton Genty, who is like one of the best running back prospects pretty much of all time. I mean, his college numbers are unbelievable. Have you been following Ashton Genty? He's just amazing.
Oh, yeah. But, he doesn't play in a tough conference. That's the first thing. But yeah, he clearly very talented runner. He's a 2,000-yard runner in college ball. He's probably going to get the Heisman. I think he's going to be the one that's going to get it.
He came out and said, I deserve it. He says, I want it. He's like, I deserve it. That's what he came out and said. So
yeah. But it is a different level stepping up to the NFL. But yeah, wherever he goes, I am going to be targeting him on the draft because he's probably going to be like a second round pick. We already kind of know who the first round.
But he has to be a workhorse. I don't want to see him in a committee. Like, this is what I'm talking about. Like, wherever he goes, he better be starting, and I'm drafting him next year. That's the problem. What if he ends up on Philly, for example? Then it's going to screw up Barkley and him. Like, that's just wasting talent, right? He's got to end up on a team where he can be the starter. And I hope if he ends up on Dallas, they actually use him as a workhorse the way they did in 2016 with Zeke. I hope they do that.
Yeah, you'd like to think that. there were several very needy running back teams in the draft, and none of them took a running back. I don't know what was going on with that, but
I don't get it. It was bad, man, especially the Cowboys.
I think also they might have learned their lesson. They were going last year. The sentiment on running backs was so low. I think it has improved substantially this year. And you really look at the players the teams that took these workhorse guys and really worked them. The Josh Jacobs, Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, and how successful they were because they did focus on a workhorse running back,
And they're winning.
on a good
Exactly.
offense, on an offense that's already good, and how valuable that was to the team. And
Good
so
point.
I think you're going to see a reversal of this of this depreciation of running back value that we've seen over the past decade or so.
You
You'll see
can't
some of
fluff
it
it.
reverse next year.
You can't fluff it and just bring these Devin Singletary and think that he's your starter, or Zach Moss and make him. No, you got to get good running backs to be a workhorse. And like you said, they're good staples and anchors to your team. Derrick Henry and Saquon being a prime example. And again, I want to talk about Breece Hall. I did a post, Jim. I don't know if you saw this, but I did a post with Breece Hall, and I said he sucks. You saw that. You're like, you're so mean, Joe. I did that, and he ended up commenting. He's like, I hear you. I said, you suck, Breece Hall. You should be ashamed of yourself. And as soon as that happened, he's like, I heard you. And then 2 days later, he's like, out. I'm like, come
Yeah,
on.
he's out. Well, I mean, again, he doesn't want to go out there and suck. You know,
Yeah,
I mean,
guess.
clearly he's hurt right now. Clearly he's hurt. So, I mean, I just want him to get healthy. And I don't know if you even, I mean, if I was the Jets, I'd shut him down for the season. I mean,
Yeah.
they're not going to the playoffs. They're playing for nothing here.
I heard they weren't going to shut him down. I heard
Aaron Rodgers is a lame duck. He's not going to be there next year. I think they just need to rest him and just come back next year. So,
on the contrary, I don't want to go off too on this, but I heard that Aaron Rodgers is coming back, and I also heard that Breece Hall is not being shut down. So contrary to what you just said, they're going to do everything that you're saying not to do. So they're going to do it. So, but you're making more.
That sounds like the Jets to me. That sounds like the great Jets management at it again.
I know. Let's break down our workhorse star running back and go with the old guy and not work towards a franchise quarterback. Just pure stupidity. All right, let's keep going here. It's not a good day to be not a good time to be I don't think it's ever a good time to be a Jets fan. I'd say it's not a good time now, but anyway, Chuba Hubbard. Good. These are all the good matchups. Chuba Hubbard, Jahmyr Gibbs, Dave Montgomery. Obviously, the Lions versus Buffalo's Swiss cheese rush defense. Brian Robinson Jr. Good matchup.
He's been surprisingly good this year, given that he's playing with a running quarterback. He has been really good.
Decent, yeah. He's a good player.
And Chuba is another one, has had an excellent season. I was all talking about Chuba with you preseason. I'm like, I think this guy is going to be pretty good for fantasy. And you're like, no, he sucks. He's terrible. But I think he's proved himself. Again, second year in a row, he's proven himself that he has been an excellent workhorse quarterback. And now with the injury to Jonathan Brooks, I think Chuba's going to do it again next year. So I'm looking Chuba's way in 2025.
I don't know. Maybe if I get him for value, he just doesn't excite me. Okay, Javonte Williams, great matchup here versus Indy. There's all the good matchups here, everybody. Aaron Jones, good matchup here versus Chicago. He's been safe, not exciting. Derrick Henry, and did you see Derrick Henry? He's got his dreads out now. So it's like seeing him in a helmet without the dreads sticking out is just crazy. Have you seen it? I posted a video on Insta.
Yeah, I tell you, if I had long hair, I would keep my hair tucked out under my helmet because they can grab you by your hair and drag you down on a tackle. I just wouldn't want that to happen. So
if they do that, that's pretty. I think they've done it before to him. I can't remember. I think I've seen it. Not even to him. I've seen it happen before.
Well, it gets done because you can legally grab the hair if they've got long hair sticking out from under their helmet. You can grab that as part of a tackle. And I'm like, nope, I would not want that to happen. I would keep that hair tucked under.
Exactly. That's just dirty. I think most players don't do that just for, etiquette, but hopefully they don't. James Conner, good matchup here. Ramondre Stevenson, he's been cold, man. Not good. 12 points, 3 points. Not the greatest. Good matchup, though, versus Arizona. And Kyron Williams, man. I remember, he was on our show prior to the season. Do we draft you Kyron Williams this year? And he goes, is an elephant heavy? And I go, yes, it is. He's like, there you go. Draft me. So, good ROI on him, and he's got a good matchup here if you got him in the playoffs, and Joe Mixon, a decent matchup. Guys that have it in tough, Jim, real quickly, let's rip through this. Nick Chubb, who's been, again, he's done. His career's done, man. I don't see him ever bouncing back to, he just hasn't been performing well. James Cook, tough matchup. These are all tough matchups. Najee Harris, tough matchup. You should be aware. Rashad White coming off a good week because, again, Bucky got banged up in that game, so he got the torch again, and he ran with it for 25 points. He does have it in tough versus the Chargers defense here. Devin Achane, we were talking about him having a good year. Tougher matchup versus Houston. Just note this, but you don't want to sit him. Amir Abdullah here and Sincere McCormick. Seventh hardest matchup. So if you do start Sincere, he sincerely has a tough matchup, Jim. Seventh hardest versus position. Tyrone Tracy, who's kind of been a budding, he budded out of, budding star.
He's a good player on a bad team. So,
Yeah.
but he's been all right. But yeah, I mean, again, you can't be excited about starting any of these guys right now. I see Saquon Barkley also playing Pittsburgh. That's also a very tough matchup.
But you don't sit
Boy,
up.
but you're not going to sit Saquon. You're not sitting Saquon. Forget it. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, yeah. And then you talked about Pacheco. We talked about Pacheco, tough matchup. And then these are just some guys that just, again, have it in tough. You should be aware of Jonathan Taylor, tough matchup. So those are your running backs, Jim. That's it. That's it. Go start the guys that have been good for you and that have been solid. Let's just roll right into, I want to roll right into wide receivers. But before we do, guys, head on over to mybookie.ag. This is a site I use, I trust. Head over to mybookie.ag. Use code FFC. And man, they'll give you a 50% match deposit right now. And I know, Jim, a lot of people are getting out of fantasy right now. Why not keep the game exciting, right? Get in the action. MyBookie.ag is code FFC. And if you want my picks, if you want the advantage, if you want to actually win, get my picks. I've created the Counselor's Edge below to get all my picks. But the site you want to do this on and play is MyBookie.ag FFC. Go create an account right now. All right, so let's get right back to it, Jim. I want to get to the wide receivers here. Guys that have the best matchups, Malik Neighbors. Again, some of these rookies have been hindered based on their team, right? Like next year, could they do better? Guys like Rome Odunze. I think there was I read something. Again, I get a lot of stuff on my feed. I'm following on X. I'm following on Instagram. I follow all these sports pages and beat writers. And something came across my screen where Rome Odunze's dad said that if like Romo, again, I'm going to butcher this quote, but if Rome Odunze was on a better team or a better situation, or if they got the ball thrown to him, I can't remember exactly how it was quoted, he would have been a 2,000-yard receiving, receiver, basically. Basically, he's saying
I don't know about that, but
his son got screwed, basically, is what he was saying. And to be honest, guys like Malik Neighbors got screwed. Guys like Marvin Harrison, who Kyler Murray's not, I don't know, man. I just think there's so much talent that they haven't tapped into how good these guys are. Don't you think? Like,
yeah, but again, they are rookies. We have seen improvement over the course of the season, especially with guys like Brian Robinson. Not Brian Robinson. The guy in Jacksonville, Brian Thomas.
Brian Thomas, yeah.
Yeah, Brian Thomas has been great this year. Really, the thing that I look at, and I do like second-year players, man, and especially wide receivers that end up in the top 36.
Yeah,
rookie wide receivers. Second year, they see an average increase of 30% in their volume. So all three of these guys, I am in on and targeting for next year. Even though New York's going to have a new quarterback, they're going to have they'll have a rookie quarterback. But I think we're going to see some real growth in all these guys, and I'm very excited about what they potentially offer for the 2025 season. So
absolutely. All right, let's go to the best matchups here at wide receiver. Malik Neighbors, great matchup here. Jacoby Myers, Jacoby. Remember, he used to call him Jacoby Myers.
That is how you pronounce his name, is Jacoby.
It's Jacoby. Jacoby. Oh, you're doing the Bijan Bijan thing. That's okay.
For years I called the restaurant Chipotle. Chipotle is how I pronounced it, and that is wrong. That is not the way it is pronounced. But that's how I pronounce it. So that's how it is properly pronounced. Everyone else is pronouncing it wrong. So
the English language is very messed up. It really, really is. Anyway, DJ Moore, great matchup here versus Minnesota here. Again, DJ Moore, big time bust. Keenan Allen, big time bust. Rome Odunze, bust. It's been wide receiver roulette. They've been having some good games lately, actually. DJ Moore, not bad, the past 3 games.
Yeah, I mean, again, he is the number one on that team, so you'd expect that. But there, again, it's too. There's too many mouths to feed for a rookie quarterback. So it was just going to be a tough sledding, inconsistent, regardless of how good these guys are. So
Tyreek Hill, good matchup versus Houston. He kind of came alive last week. Touchdown, doing well. Him and Waddle, both of them kind of eating last.
Yeah, Waddle, I actually have him in one of my leagues that made it to the playoffs. He's been on my bench like the whole season. And now this week, I'm like, okay, I think I might be able to start him. So he's definitely going to bust. So just know that out there. Everybody.
Yeah, exactly. Chiefs receivers, what a disaster. I mean, who's the one there? I mean, Hopkins.
Well, it's Kelsey. Kelsey's the one.
Yeah, yeah, I know, but,
So
they always get these, like, wide receivers that just never do anything. Anyways, good matchups either way. Juwan Jennings, great matchup coming off a big week versus, now he's against the Rams. Divisional, might be a little tighter, but I don't expect him having 28 points, but I think he's gonna be a safe start. Deebo Samuel, I heard he's complaining, not getting the ball, blah, blah, blah. You suck, buddy. It's just crazy. A lot of drama with the divas, man. All these wide receivers demanding the ball, being divas, complaining. We saw there was some drama with AJ Brown. I don't know if you saw AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts. I heard the beef is real. He's not getting the ball as much as he wants, blah, blah, blah. It's just like, man, they're all
yeah,
arguing.
they do need to get him the ball more. I
Yeah.
agree with I agree with AJ Brown there. But yeah, Debo hasn't done anything this year. I don't even know where he is on the
So,
charts, but what has he done the past 3 weeks? What has Debo done the past 3 weeks?
I have it right up here. One sec here. Deebo Samuel, 6 points, 5 points, and 3 points. He hasn't even gotten 15.
Yeah, that's garbage. And Juwan Jennings has been amazing. I mean,
Yeah.
that guy's a revelation. I don't know how that guy was just sitting on that team, third, fourth down on the pecking order, and now he's like the one. I mean, really, Juwan Jennings has been the number one on that team. So
I love when
very surprising.
I love when guys I tell you not to draft suck and underdogs step up. I told you don't draft Deebo Samuel round 3. Him and Ayuk were both coming off round 3. What a waste of a pick.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Well, Ayuk got injured, so that's
Nah,
that's just bad luck. So
Devontae Adams, Garrett Wilson, good matchups. Who else is there here? Terry McLaurin, good matchup, just so you know. Khalil Shakir, good matchup. Had a big week last week, and I think Coleman's done. I don't know. Frig, he screwed his career up here. Wrist. Again, I was wrong about him. I thought he would have stepped up. It just never did. It's very unfortunate. But everyone thought Curtis Samuel was going to be the one there. That didn't work out either for a lot of the Consheeps.
I think Keon also is dealing with injuries. So
wrist and stuff.
yeah. So
Calvin Ridley, good matchup. Him and Nick Westbrook.
Calvin really is just really
Never drafting him again, man.
I mean, I don't know. Again, first of all, he's stuck with Levis, so that's automatically a tough situation. But Ridley, I was really hoping that he would really emerge as an elite wide receiver one option. Just has not happened, and just very, very disappointing.
Very. Okay, other guys, good matchups here. Adam Thielen, Xavier Legette. Just a note here. And Marvin Harrison Jr., decent matchup. Guys that have it in tough, just so you're aware, and again, if we don't mention them, they have mid-range matchups. Jamar Chase, you're not going to sit Jamar Chase.
No, not at all.
He's got
what do you have, 40 points last week? He's
48.
going off, man. I think he's had 2 40-point games in the past few weeks.
48. Nico Collins, tough matchup. You're not going to sit him. He is playing Miami here. Who else has got tough matchup? George Pickens was not playing, but the Steelers wide receivers versus Philly, tougher matchup. Brian Thomas Jr., tough matchup versus Jets secondary, but he's been safe the past 3 weeks, 17, 19, and 14 points. Other guys, Jordan Addison, Jefferson, both coming off amazing weeks. You're just not going to sit these guys, but they do have it in tough versus Chicago. We just talked about this.
Yeah.
Just be aware they're not going to have the same type of week. They're not going to put up a 75-point combined point total between the two of them this week. It's just not going to happen. I don't see that. Especially, tough matchup. Doesn't help. Baltimore's receivers, Zay Flowers, tough matchup. Who else? Michael Pittman. I mean, he's been a disaster. What another bust here is the Colts receivers having it a little bit tough versus Denver this week. And then Puka and Kupp, you're not going to sit these guys, but they do have it in tough versus San Fran. And then complaining A.J. Brown, tough matchup versus Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's been hot. J.J. Watt. Watt has been a menace, like J.J. Watt. I'm so used to J.J. Watt, right?
Right.
The T.J. Watt. So, yeah, he's been a menace, man. I mean, Steelers' defense has been amazing. And then I think CeeDee Lamb, tougher matchup as well, but you're not going to see him. And Amon-Ra, what a bust last week, 10 points, tougher matchup versus Baltimore. Amon-Ra, big-time letdown. That's it for wide receivers, Jim. That's it.
All right.
Let's move on to tight
ends, right?
Tight ends and defenses here. Let's just hit it all together. Jake Ferguson, great matchup here. Just take a look here.
Yeah, Ferguson had a great matchup last week. He didn't do anything with it.
I don't know. Another one of those guys I thought would have been a sneak wide receiver, but he just a sneaky tight end I could have got for value this year. Just didn't perform. Again, I think a big part of that is Dak Prescott being injured, but no excuses. He hasn't performed. Again, take a quick look here, guys. Visual. Kyle Pitts, great matchup, but you're not starting. I mean, Kyle Pitts is done. He's dead to me. I would never, ever draft this guy. I would never in fantasy. I haven't for years. But
I would only maybe consider him if he's a late round pick in best ball. That's
That's
the
it.
kind of player he is. He'll have a blow up week or two, but yeah, he's not good. Um,
Big,
George Kittle's got a great matchup this week, man. That's one you're definitely going to start.
there he is.
Kelsey's got a good matchup too. That's good. And Njoku's got a good matchup like that.
Yeah, I
Um,
see that. Yep. Who
but
else?
some guys that are good that, and some guys that some big names. Jonnu Smith has a tough matchup. Oh, we haven't gotten there yet. I'm sorry. I'm
Yeah,
jumping
just
ahead.
talk
I'm
about.
jumping ahead.
Yeah. So like I said, Njoku, Conklin, good matchup. Hawkinson, good matchup. You could see it here versus Chicago. We talked about a Kittle. You talked about all good matchups. Okay, guys that have it
Yeah.
in a little bit tough. Kincaid, who's been a major bust, and I got an injury designation for him. I got to check that out. I don't have him on my teams. Mark Andrews, tough matchup. Who else? There, Cade Auden, who's been inconsistent, tough matchup. Sam
Yeah,
Laporta.
Cade Otton for me, strictly a best ball player from now on. He's just not. He just hasn't emerged to becoming like a consistent receiver for Tampa Bay. So just
So
take the just ride him in best ball only.
Sam,
Otherwise, he's just like a bye week fill in. I see Jonnu Smith has a tough matchup. Sam Laporta's got a tough matchup. Evan Ingram has a tough matchup. These are all guys I'd be very reluctant to start on such a
Pat
critical week.
Fryermuth, some other big names that have tougher matchups, but you're not going to probably sit them if you have them because they've been consistent. Like look at Pat Fryermuth, tough matchup versus Philly this week, eighth hardest for his position.
Yeah, again, Freiermuth has not done well this year for fantasy, and that's really disappointing. Given that there's been such limited receiving options on Pittsburgh, you'd think he'd be the number 2 option, but he has not even been that. Again, strictly a best ball kind of player from here on out. I don't think you can draft him for regular managed teams.
I think so. Brock Bowers, bad week last week, and then the big week the week before. Tough matchup. I mean, you got to start Brock Bowers if you got him at tight end, regardless. And Smith,
Bowers has been fantastic. He I mean, he really is like the tight end you wanted to have. Him and Kittle, I think, are the two that have been most valuable for fantasy teams.
yeah, just so him and Smith, I would still start them, but they do have tougher matchups versus position.
Yeah. I don't think Jonnu Smith was even drafted. He's the guy you off of waivers mid-season.
Been solid. All right, let's wrap it up with the optimal defenses here, Jim. I'm going to highlight them if there's anyone else I missed. But Bengals versus Tennessee, Chiefs versus Cleveland, Ravens versus the Giants. On paper is the defense start this week.
That's the one you want, man. Actually, wait a minute. I got to see if I got him on my because Ravens were available, so I went for a waiver wire pickup in my playoff team here. Let me see if I got him. Let me see. Did he make it? Did I get him? No, I got the Falcons. They still have a good matchup.
Yes,
but,
yes. I was going to say Falcons versus Vegas is a great matchup this week.
Yep.
I would start them. Arizona versus New England, not bad. Packers versus Seattle. Panthers versus Dallas, not the greatest, but why not? Minnesota versus Chicago. Texans versus Miami. I don't really trust that. Raiders versus Atlanta. And Jets, maybe Jets versus Jacksonville could be attractive. I don't trust.
Yeah, I think that's a good matchup. That I play the Jets.
Yeah.
Because Jacksonville's got their backup quarterback and a depleted offense. So, yeah.
Oh, man, we covered a lot. I mean, if you have any questions, guys, drop them below. But that was a lot of stuff, Jim. I mean, between news and stuff, everything. I mean, it's just nice to wrap the year up and just say, hey, man, like, let's just close it out, have fun, win the championship, and just go on to 2025 and start, hammering that stuff up. Because it's already going to start. I'm telling you right now, first overall next year, it's going to be Saquon Barkley. They're just going to ride the train, man. It's the same BS every year, and they're going to forget about Christian McCaffrey. You think Christian McCaffrey's going to be their golden boy this year? No, they're just going to jump on the train.
No, he'll be like a second or third round pick. People are still going to be in on him because they're not thinking that he's a 30-year-old running back next year and coming off an injury riddled season. So.
Yeah, but we'll be looking forward. We'll be looking for the future. We're going to make sure that you guys have the optimal players. So make sure you guys subscribe, smash, tap, and slap. We're going to go year round. I'm going to keep the content rolling here. But if you guys are checking out a fantasy, make sure you guys are subscribed because I do break news here and everything else. Okay. So that's it, Jim. Everything else good? Any other things you want to say?
No, that's it, man. So good luck in the playoffs this weekend. I hope you advance. Let's do it. Let's make it happen. Let's do it. I want my team to advance this week. I think I got a good chance. So we'll see.
NFL Week 15, and I'm going to the mall to go see Santa with my kids. So I got to get going. I'm out. All right, we'll talk. You know what's funny? I'm watching Christmas Story, though, with my kids, and the mean Santa that kicks the kid down the slide. So my 7-year-old, she thinks that, like, that's what Santa's going to be like at the mall now. So I'm like, no, he's not that. I don't think he's that mean. You know,
I don't
so
know. Kids are always kind of scared of Santa. They're always like kind of a little freaked out when they see him in person. They're like, "Oh my god, that's the guy."
a little intimidating sometimes for sure. All right, man. We'll talk soon, guys. Everybody have yourself a great day. Go see Santa, and hopefully you guys all been good and you guys don't get coal in your stockings. We'll talk soon, guys. Go win forever.